wrong, and they don't even understand what they've said they're going to do. You know, they don't even understand what they're doing on the form.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these Alaska forms are really good. I mean,
Yeah.
as you know, in terms of paper forms and asking you helpful, they're really good. And I said, so what are some of the things they get? She told me two things and I didn't write it down. But I think what's really interesting, and maybe if and when the relationships with the court get stronger, is there's this the court service centers, right?
Mhm.
But there might be some magistrates, or I don't know if we have magistrates in Massachusetts, but there might be some judges in probate and family court that they could be really helpful, and we could say to them, what do litigants get wrong all the time? And she was saying one thing for child support, we have our financial statement, which will eventually get done, I promise. But she was saying that, in Alaska, the deductions on child support are specific to child. There's, when you calculate your income for child support, there are things that you can subtract and things you can't subtract. And that's true in Massachusetts as well, but it's a little bit more defined and specific in Alaska. And she said one thing people deduct all the time is their life insurance, and they just don't get it. And I was thinking about the way we ask questions. This isn't for the Massachusetts Child Support Guidelines worksheet, but I'm just thinking in terms of whether we might want to just ask things, because we say these, deduct these things, or these are your expenses. And I guess in Massachusetts, it's okay because we outlined very specifically what you can deduct. In Alaska, and it's and other deduction, you're going to say and other.
Yeah.
So what we might do is things, is say, when it says and other, do not include life insurance. Or I was thinking about this as I was biking into work this morning, just brainstorming, not proposing, but thinking, what if there are things that people typically want to deduct or expense that aren't allowed? And so we ask them specifically about those things, and then don't deduct it, because then they'll feel like, I totally understand that. They're thinking, well, what about this particular thing that is not everybody, a lot of people have, but it's unnamed, and people feel very unsure about it. So if we address it directly. So anyway, I'm just thinking as we're going through, and again, it's another way to enroll the course is to find judges and magistrates.
It's actually, it's something we did we didn't find magistrates, but it's something we did on the juvenile sealing petition at Coach of Boston, where we asked, do you have any open cases? And then we asked, are you on probation? Even though those are the same thing.
Yes, right. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's the same. Yeah. That's the thing about the life insurance, but I'm also thinking about this idea of enrolling courts, and if you can find friendly judges, judges who are friendly to the idea, and they would be friendly if it's easier for them to read.
If it's going to get them more correct information, I'd imagine they'd be eager to help. But,
well, that's exactly, it was really interesting listening to what Suzanne had to say about this, is that there's stuff that people always get wrong. So if we talk to the judges in probate and family court and say, is there anything that people always get wrong when they submit these forms, then that's helpful to us, because we can prevent, we can't prevent everything, but at least it's something that we can address. Anyway, I thought that was kind of a cool, exciting idea.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Partly as the assembly line, we have this special relationship, assembly line, with Massachusetts courts, but it's also something when we talk about, on the Monday meetings with the states who are working on it. Some of them are courts, some of them are legal aid programs. Some of them already work with their courts and it's not an issue, but I think we're always thinking user testing. And
there's some stuff that's already been user tested.
Well, we're also
Like this.
limiting our users oftentimes to our self-represented litigants, and the other users are judges who have to read these forms.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my spiel for today.
All right.
All right, thanks, Carolyn. We'll jump to Hayden next.
Yeah, so this week I was working on that child support worksheet that we were just talking about. I ran into some problems yesterday with I think I just didn't understand where to put what information and how to tell the interview to do what. But Michelle helped me walk through it a little bit. And I think I have it working now, or at least the problem that I was working on yesterday. And that'll be something that I'm going to need to sort of like redo on a couple other questions. And I was trying to do some of the labeling for the form fixer yesterday too. But two of the PDFs that I was looking at, I was confused what labels would actually want to go where, because they seemed quite different from the forms that I had worked with at all. So I didn't go forward with it just because I didn't want to make mistakes and submit sort of incorrect documents for it to learn from.
Oh, this is the training project that David has. Okay.
Yeah, it was like I think it's called Form Foxer or Fixer or something like that. It's for the machine learning thing. He just told us to give it a shot if we wanted to, but I looked at it and I was like, I'm going to make errors on this. I know I am, and didn't want to go forward.
Maybe we could save some time, circle back to that and see if we can help you give what our take is on it. And actually, my guess is that there's not a problem with adding one that's not perfect because machine learning learns by having a lot of examples. So it might be okay.
Okay. Well, I can give it a shot then later today. We could go over the one that I had a couple of questions with the fields on if we want to, or I could just give it a shot and do my best. And I could send it to someone here if they wanted to look it over too. And just like with the fields that the way I've labeled them.
It'd be interesting to see. I think we could all learn from it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. And I think Caroline was just mentioning not the worksheet, but the financial statement form. Someone's making that. I recently learned from my manager at the CSC that someone else, I can find their name, is building something in DocAssemble separate from us that's doing that, I think. They're building I don't know if it's a short form or the long form or what exactly they're working on, but
in Massachusetts?
Yeah, I think it was Massachusetts because she was trying to get us in contact with each other to try to work together because the forms are so related, like the worksheet and the financial statement. I was trying to figure out a way if they could enter in the financial statement that they filled and we could just pull info off it to sort of speed up the worksheet for them too. I don't know if that's something we can do, but.
That was the next stage after MVP for child support guidelines.
Was it? Yeah. So.
I wonder if that's like a telephone thing, like where maybe someone heard about our project and then didn't associate it with us.
Hayden, did you get the name of the person who's working on it, or a group, or what?
It's a group. I'm just looking through my emails for it.
I'm just wondering if it's me.
That makes sense too.
That would be hilarious.
That'd be great.
Where is it?
And by me, I mean Michelle and Quentin.
So the person, it was Meg from Access to Justice, EOTC. I don't know.
EOTC.
Meg DeMarco.
Oh yeah, right.
And they have like a tech fellow, it sounds like, named Julia, who's working at the A to J program.
Oh.
Who's doing it?
You don't have her last name.
We don't, and she was supposed to email us this week to set up a meeting, and she hasn't. So we're kind of
meaning Court Service Center.
We've reached out to them. Julia is supposed to reach out to us to set something up. Me and my manager, me and Kristen and Julia were supposed to meet up, but we're kind of waiting on that one still.
Do you think, would it be okay if I listened in so I know what you're doing?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if you're working on it, it's,
Well, I'm kind of working on it. Yeah. I started it and then I wanted help from Michelle and I haven't been able to find time to do it, but I think it'll have national implications. Mm-hmm. So,
definitely. Yeah. No
implications, but it's going to be useful nationally.
Yeah. Once we get meeting set up, I'll definitely let you know, and I'm sure it would be totally fine if you came in.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah,
and Meg, we did a little bit of work with Meg DeMarco, but she's changed positions to something else.
Yeah, she said she just switched. I think it says in here.
Is this Megan, her new job?
She's just switching, but she's staying with Julia throughout the rest of her sort of like fellowship with them. So I think she's just helping with this one.
So Julia's in her old, so this is the leftover from her old stuff. Okay. Because
yeah.
I talked to, oh God, I'm trying to remember if her name is Julia. I talked to last week, I don't remember what her name is, but she's the new Access to Justice coordinator at the courts. And she's been at this forms camp. And I talked to her and I was saying, maybe because you're new, you should talk to Quentin and them and, think about using the DocAssemble forms. And she's saying, oh, the court's really reluctant to use it because they give advice. But I don't know. But you said this Julie is a fellow, the one that you're talking to.
That's yeah, it's a tech fellowship.
Okay. So it wouldn't be
Tech,
the one
maybe?
that I was talking to.
I wonder if that's Miguel Willis's project, the A to J Tech Fellows.
I think that sounds familiar. There's no organization listed in the email, but when I was talking to Kristen about it, I think that's what she was calling it.
All
This
right.
was a few weeks ago now, though, that we sort of started setting this up.
Okay.
But I'll definitely keep you in the loop, Caroline.
Thank you so much, Hayden.
Yeah, no, of course.
They're doing it in DocAssemble though, huh? Is that?
That's because she was asking me if we were using DocAssemble, or she asked Kristen if I was, so I assumed that they were doing it there. I could forward you the email, Caroline, if you wanted, and then you would just have all
that
the
would be
info
helpful
that I have.
because I'm pretty sure they were doing it in Odyssey guide and file or whatever that thing is called. Is that Tyler? No, Tyler's the e-file, but
No, that
Tyler
is
also does the
both.
Odyssey. Yeah,
I do the guide and file too, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they were going to be doing it in. And that when I talked to what's her name a couple of weeks ago, she said that's what they were doing. So that's why it would be good to meet with them to actually find, horse's mouth thing.
Yeah, she says, is Hayden building a DocAssemble CSG interview? I don't know what CSG means. I don't know if that's
Child support guidelines.
Oh, yeah, okay. Then yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep you in the loop though. Once we get something actually set up.
Great. That'd be fantastic. And it'll give me a little more of a
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at though right now with this past week. Everything.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, that would be really interesting if they're using DocAssemble. Definitely would make sense to coordinate that. All right, Michelle, you are next.
So this week, with a few great improvements from Quentin, we have integrated the income module into Toolbox. The names are a bit different than you were working with, Caroline, but I can help with. And so, yay, that's a long time coming and a lot of good work based on the GBLS thing, but with some important additions. The other thing, oh, we can't hear you, Caroline. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have to just shut up and let you go because I start getting really excited about it. So I'll be quiet and at least finish your sentence.
All right. Well, the rest of it is some work on the Kiln project, though discovering some async issues with the reload solution that are being a real bear to track down. But the random input testing, I think, is almost ready, if I recall. And then Bryce can talk about his if he wants, but he's been putting in a lot of nice small fixes and improvements. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, just the main thing is the income module.
Oh, that's a big one. So yeah, nice work.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you too.
All right, Bryce.
Still doing e-filing stuff. Hopefully should be finished with the Illinois one like today. Everything is in, and it's just a matter of one last bug that I'm trying to fix. But yeah, that's that. And then I still have not heard anything from Tyler to help me move forward on the Massachusetts one. So I will ping them again. I can't do anything else because I've already escalated it and like pinged them once. So I guess I'll just keep pinging them until they fix their documentation.
And in your experience with these things, there's like nothing you can just guess to see if it might happen to work. It's too specific, the kind of thing that would be going wrong.
Well, so I did try that before I reached out because it wasn't a thing, but it's like there's not anything that's really like there's nothing in the there's nothing in like the XML structure that I could send that has any relation to that, like the thing that the error says is happening, other than like what I've already sent. So because it wants the specific code of like the lower court, but there's no place to put it. I've tried putting it in the name and it doesn't like that. And there's just nowhere else to put it. And so it's probably some like ad hoc, here's a whole bunch of random strings that we can send you that I have no idea where it could be or where they want it. Because it could go in 10 different places inside of the XML payload. So I'll probably ping them again. And
Escalation we could get like
there's like an in ticket little like escalate case that I did last week when I pinged them, and so I will.
What I mean is like getting someone from the judiciary to reach out.
Maybe
that's worth doing. Just keep in mind that's like a back pocket thing we could have. Probably.
Yeah.
See if Paul can ask the clerk of the appeals court to say, "Hey, we're trying to get this happening, but we're hearing this is stuck." I don't know, but I think we want to use that unless we need to. But.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't want to use it too much. I'll reach out again, and honestly, if like they still haven't reached out or still haven't gotten back to me by next Wednesday, then I think that would be a perfectly fine thing to chat with Paul about at our meeting. So
we're kind of in the same spot with Illinois in some ways, right? Because we're still waiting for them to sign something that the court thinks they've done everything. So I wonder if we have.
I haven't been super pushing hard because we would get that, and then I would still have to finish this interview. But like the interview is done. It's like fairly well tested at this point. Matt and I are probably going to like show it to some of the clerks in Marion just to make sure that like I think it's in Marion County just to make sure that it works how they expect. And it's like giving them like, oh, this is all the right stuff that they want or would want in the filing. And honestly, once it's at that point, I have a feeling it will sort of like internally the people at the court will be like asking around and be like, hey, where is this? And I can also try to start pushing on whoever needs to be pushed on. I know, yeah, it was a while back that we sort of reached out to, I think, Sarah and the AOIC, but I can try and like now that the interview is done, I feel fairly certain in saying like we're ready when you're ready, and so it's not like we like try and get like push them a bit to get ready, and then we're not quite ready. Like now that we are, I feel more comfortable trying to push on some people on that. So
that makes sense. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks, Bryce. Sorry for the limbo you're being stuck in. It must be really frustrating.
it's good. Almost out.
Speaking of which, I don't know. Does anyone? I'll save that for Casual Friday. Thing that we have. Okay, so on my side this week, I've been at that conference, and the other thing I've been doing is doing review work on the income module. But the main substantive thing that I've been moving forward on is this review screen generator. So it's going pretty well. I refactored a bunch of the code, and now I'm just working through like the new bugs that come from refactoring. And just moved, there was like one really huge code block, which was becoming crazy with nested logic because I wanted it to handle very complicated things. So I moved it into smaller functions in a module. And the big feature from the review screen generator that I'm trying to integrate is the ability to take generic object questions, so questions that use X, and to take iterator questions, ones that use I, and to make those into like easy to use review screens, which I think is really interesting because we might want to change what we do in the Weaver too. Right now we generate questions in the Weaver in the review screen that have like you have to click a page which lists all of the people, and on that page are all of the attributes of that person, which I don't think is the easiest thing for people to really use for real. So I don't know if it'll be much easier if on the review screen people could see all the details about at least the first few people that they cared about, and then hopefully ideally not even having to click a page to make changes to those properties on a different screen anywhere. So something that I think we could consider for the Weaver if I get the feature ready and finished for the standalone review screen generator. Maybe it's not really that worth doing in the Weaver because people always end up changing their question screens quite a bit from the Weaver. So it's really a thing that they should do when they're done. So we just work on it. I'm done. I'm ready to generate my review screen side of things. I don't know. But yep, that's basically what's been taking my time this week. That is it for me. Anything else that people wanted to? Oh, we should look at Hayden at your question about labeling for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was just about what I should name some of the fields. It's pretty.
Well, that's a great thing for us to talk about all together, I think.
Yeah, here, I'll just pull up the PDF. Yeah, so it's just this one-page form. I think this was from Michigan. Yeah, I was just sort of confused, particularly with these fields here. I don't know what anyone would put in here. I have sort of zero idea. And then I don't know if in Documate, when I'm doing like the labeling and stuff, should this be split up into multiple fields? It seemed like from the documentation I was reading that it should be. But that seemed kind of odd to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's like a really weird form.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's got any takes or anything.
I would say for the court ones, like, yeah, it's not super clear like what exactly they should be, but or like if it's a thing that we have, honestly, I don't think it would be, because it, like, just how the courts are organized varies so much between jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But like the thing that we do have a lot, or we do have in pretty much every case, is like trial court as the thing that has all of the information about all the information about the court. And so it might make sense to have it be labeled like trial court underscore, because we can use dots, like trial court underscore district, and then trial court underscore circuit. And I don't actually even know what county probate is supposed to be asking, but I guess like on trial underscore probate, or trial underscore county probate or something.
I think it's probably just the name of the county.
Oh, okay, yeah. So in that case, trial
We can just do
underscore county.
Yeah, I think it's just saying it's the probate court for that county.
Okay. That makes sense. And then with like these larger fields that will collect like lots of different kinds of information, since it's like names, addresses, and phone numbers, is that one field that I'd create? Or should I do multiple lines or something like that?
Couldn't you do one field that was a compilation of all those different, like, when you do, I know DocAssemble does client name or username or whatever it is, and it automatically puts all that stuff, takes the first, middle, and last name. But I would think that you could create a variable that would do that. So you would label it like, plaintiff. It might even be plaintiff info or plaintiff name. You could have you do plaintiff.
There's no PDF label for all those things.
Right.
Like there just isn't.
You'd have to make one up, right?
Yeah, as far as labels go.
Is the job to use the existing labels and label a PDF, or just label PDFs?
The way he described it in a meeting a few weeks ago was just to label the PDF and then upload it to, I think it was in GitHub. And then like it's going to learn from it. It's like a test document, but
But when you say that the assignment is the first thing is to label it, are you restricted to the labels you can use, or can you make up some labels?
I don't know. I assumed I could make them up if we didn't have.
Oh, well,
sort
there
of-
you go then. That's what I think.
but I just didn't want
That's what I would
to.
do for this.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do it sort of fully independently because I had only done 2 PDFs labeling, and they were wrong initially both times. So I didn't want to just jump the gun and make a bunch of mistakes and have it, be feeding bad info to something that's supposed to learn. So I don't know.
I think I agree with Caroline. So those are weird fields to because it's asking for a list of information. It doesn't know how long it is. You don't know how many parties there will be. So that's why they've done it that way. You want to but it's not really the way you would gather the information, but it could still be the way you put it on the form as a display. So I think it's going to get a custom name.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out the logic later. If I were automating this form, you can't really break it into 3 fields because it really wants you to list name, address, phone number for each plaintiff and each defendant in a row in one line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Maybe-
Or two,
there could be
yeah.
a handful of plaintiffs too. We, like you're saying, we
Right.
really don't know.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to have an addendum, but you don't have to worry about that.
And this will be really easy to translate from the label too, which is I think also part of the point, that the text that's on the screen next to the box will
Mhm.
correspond to it well. And so right, exactly what you highlighted there. So plaintiff name, address, and telephone number should turn into a field like plaintiff _name _address and _telephone. Maybe something like
Couldn't
I
you
might
take
include the word
and? Couldn't you take you don't need the and though.
you don't, you're right. But I could see putting in there because it would show that it's meant to be a conjunction of a bunch of things, but maybe it's unnecessary because it already is obvious that it's a conjunction.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that was really it. The other form was pretty similar with just some sort of ambiguous, from my experience, label names that I would need to make, but I'll just do custom ones and I'll do what I think makes sense.
What Bryce was saying about using trial _court for anything related to the court, I think is a good thing to keep in mind. So you can find
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Yeah,
and case
Thank you,
number,
Bryce.
docket number, but
Yeah.
maybe
That's
we
what I
should
figured, though.
because it's only Massachusetts uses that word maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
really? Okay.
in Alaska do they use?
I'm about to bake it into all of our APIs. So
Alaska uses case number also.
I think it's fine, Bryce, because it's not ambiguous. People know what it means.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's just parochial. That's all. That's fine if we have some parochial things. It doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, I figured this was docket. That's what so. Alrighty. Well, that was really it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing, the other thing I was gonna add is just, and I feel like the actual task that you're doing is primarily for the like machine learning part that David's already sort of told you about. But I do think that the other side of it is that this is the first time that we'll have bulk labeled some forms from other jurisdictions, because we have bulk labeled a lot of forms from Massachusetts, and a few of our partners have labeled a few, 1 or 2, maybe max 3 or 4 forms from their jurisdictions. But this will be the first time that we're sort of doing a lot of different jurisdictions. Some of them the first time we're there, and then and doing just more than just one. And so I would say, I think, even if it's stuff we don't have, whatever makes specifically whatever makes the most sense, not only just so we can sort of have the machine label part go through and label it properly, but also so we can consider adding more things to the Weaver, because this is the first time we've come across all the plaintiff info in one box. And if that's a thing that is in all of the Michigan forms, then it might make sense. We do already have a names and addresses single method for all of the used plaintiffs or all the defendants, and so it might make sense to have that for also the just names, addresses, and phone numbers or something like that. So this is also for not only for it's not only just for the machine learning part. It's also for us to say hey, what features should we add? This is a great way to figure out what would be worth it for a lot of further jurisdictions.
Okay, that's good to keep in mind through this. Thanks.
So one of the things I'm wondering is this already a fillable PDF on Michigan's court website?
I don't know. This is in like I think it was a Google Drive or something like that I was linked.
But
Maybe
did
like
you,
a one
okay,
point.
I'm just.
This looks good enough that it probably was. We have a thing that can turn non-fillable PDFs into fillable PDFs, but it's definitely not this good. So
I mean, what I'm wondering about too is that if a state already has a fillable PDF, it might be down the line, I don't know, it might be at least thinking about whether looking at the labels that they're using. I mean, I realize we want to use our labels if we already have them, but it might be helpful to also look at how they label it, because that would possibly reveal how they're thinking about they use the information. So
I think they
maybe not for this one, but I think
I was gonna say, I think currently we are trying to, like, we are just using like what they've labeled them, and sorry, I think I was interrupting Quentin, but I think it was just they don't have labels. They have whatever the auto-generated Adobe things is, which sometimes is the text that's next to it, and then other times is the base 64 X. Like,
okay.
So
okay. I don't have other questions. Go for it. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, hey, it would be good to like write down some of the weird things you run into as you go, Hayden, because then, to help with what Bryce is saying for us improving our labeling documentation.
Definitely. Yeah, I'll just keep notes of any sort of problems that I have, and if I figure out the problem, how I figured it out. And I will send them out or bring them up on Fridays and stuff. Okay. Perfect.
You said you had another question also?
No, I was saying I don't have any more.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, sorry. I'm mumbly. Alrighty.
All right. Anything else? Anybody that is for stand up? All right. Stop the recording.